Hello, how's it going? Hey guys, what's up? What you doing? How's it going? It's been a while since I've streamed. Hopefully everything works. I have not streamed maybe over a month easily, if not 2 months. I have been getting my butt kicked at work and in life, and I was just so tired the last 2 months, 3 months. And I'm still tired today, but I took a nap, so I have some energy. So we're gonna get into today's it's April 2022 Ashes of Creation live stream. We're gonna watch the whole thing together. I'm gonna throw my commentary in, all that crap, and see how it goes. Hopefully there's something good this week. I saw there was like a excuse me, I've been drinking Pepsi and I'm burping it up, of course, when I'm streaming. Um, there was like a demon horse. I don't know how to say it. Spectral mares. I don't know. It looked like it was a blue and black horse with like blue flames and skulls, but I only looked at it for like a hot second and I clicked off. So I assume that's like the new mount for the next month coming up, or something. So we'll take a look. We'll go through. For anybody watching, tell me how the sound is. For the stream, I downloaded their Twitch stream and now I'm just gonna play it in VLC. So hopefully it works for you guys. Um, Before we get too far into it, hopefully all this stuff works still. Check out my social, squeetee.com. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I also have a Twitter now. The Twitter is under the god of Emperor Elon Musk. I've had it. I post on it just video links, but I might start using that more. So check out my location. Well, right? No, wrong way. Damn, my camera's flipped. Oh, hey Ty, what's up, buddy? I'm glad you could join. So far, so good. Completely understand you're exhausted. Comes with adulthood. Sounds fine so far. Okay, cool. Thank you for telling me I sound good. I appreciate that. And for anyone else watching, if you're looking for a guild or for Ashes, or if you want to join us in Star Wars: The Old Republic, we are on the Starforge server. Um, bmfguild.xyz. Put application in, get on our guilded, check us out in game, all that stuff. We're really small. We took a huge hit of player base when 7.0 launched in for SWOTOR, and nobody wants to play right now because it kind of sucks. So there's only a handful of us playing. But for Ashes, we're all for it. So if you want to check it out, and yeah, that's about it. So let's get into it. Oop,
Hello,
turn the speaker.
everyone. Welcome and salutations. We hope you are having a great and glorious month. We are here for our
Put it to
March
100.
development update.
I
All right, we'll see
know,
how that
and we're
goes.
doing it on a
Crazy.
Thursday.
I
I
think this thing
know.
goes.
There's some
That's
people
There's
who
like
are
an
like,
hour and
"What's
a
this
half
band
more
Friday? It's not
supposedly. So
Friday." And I
just so
was like,
everybody's aware.
"Normally we stream on
Sometimes I won't
Fridays."
talk, and I'll just let
But
them
we need a
blab.
little extra time. As you can see on
Yes.
our
Hopefully,
current
I don't like
topics
sneeze
list,
everywhere.
we are going to be not only doing our reminders and studio update, our big focus for the stream is actually going to be the character creator. And
Character
yes,
creator
you are going to see it in
again.
action. Us
Yes.
fiddling with it. I think we did one little edit that we had because we had a crash. But
I crashed it. I was manipulating the tattoos and
he put too many tattoos
I
on.
put too many tattoos and scars, and we found a crash that QA was like, yeah, we only really hit this crash like once out of like 40 times. And I was like, oh, okay, then it's safe. And then at the moment I did it, boom. So we did a little edit, but it's okay. Yeah, no, super excited with the character creator today, guys. Of course, we're going to preface that this is the Alpha 2 character creator. So there's a lot
A
of
lot of
features that
work to
still aren't
do.
going to
A
be
lot of
present in it.
work.
But I think
UI
what
is
you
not
guys,
done.
yeah, UI is not done. There's still a lot of, feature development that's necessary, a lot of presets that aren't present, some of the, options, and we'll go through that stuff a little later. But what I will say is I played a lot of MMOs, and I have very rarely ever encountered a character creator, even at this state, that is as versatile and capable as what our team has been
Good.
able to develop. So I'm super
Because
excited to
what
show that
they
with you
showed
guys.
last
I was
month,
able
the
to
character creator, what they had, and it
record
looked
with Margaret
fantastic.
and Zach Mallet and Clayton Stamper, and we had a lot of fun, and Chris Atkins as well.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. We're a little silly at times, but we do get into some more technical details as well. Our programmers nerding out, which, is always a lot of fun. And then we also have, so this is very character heavy stream. We also have some more character art updates if you've been watching and following along with our journey the last couple months, you may have noticed that we've been showing a lot of the, different races art because we are kind of finalizing some of those things and getting them
Took
to
you
Yes.
long
the point
enough.
where, in Alpha 2, you will be able to play these. So we
And
will
another,
have some new
Wait, did I
showcases
download
and
the
reveals
March
as well on
the
that front.
video?
I was just going to say another really important thing on the art side, at least, as you're seeing a lot of this
Oh,
character
I got the
work
wrong video.
starting to get
How did I
revisions
do
and
that?
additional passes, you're actually going to start
Hold
now
on.
seeing the real kind of almost launch quality characters that we're intending to have in Ashes of Creation.
It
So
sounded familiar, and then I
that's always
realized what was
exciting
up.
because as we told you in Alpha 1 and prior to Alpha 1 during development, like art is always a
Oh,
work in
they don't
progress,
have
right?
their
It's always
video
getting,
up to
iterated
watch.
upon and improved. And one of the great things about a transparent development process of an MMORPG
Wait
is
a
you get to see
second.
that from start to finish. And now we're kind of reaching a point in the quality where,
What?
we're
All
feeling
right,
like
hold
this
on.
is,
I'm gonna have to figure this out. I'm an idiot. Did she say final solution? Yeah, I think she did. I knew this was a repeat. All right, so we're gonna have to deal with the ads on Twitch because I'm not Prime and I don't care. Well, that's embarrassing. I pulled March. I was like, oh, this is really familiar. So whenever ads come up, I'm just gonna have to like minimize.
Hello, everyone. Salutations
Horrible
and welcome
thought.
to our glorious Ashes of
Yeah, there we
Creation
go. At least
April
20.
development update. We hope everyone is well and safe. I am Margaret Crone, your community marketing
Okay.
lead, and with me,
This
as
looks
per
fresh, I think.
usual, is our one,
And it
the
says April at the
only,
bottom.
the ship
We're
driver,
set, guys. Oh my god.
aka
Told you I haven't
creative
streamed in
director
like 2 months.
Stephen Sharif. You are. You're
I forgot
driving the ship.
I forgot to mute my phone. I'm sorry.
I just realized I got the stroke
Hello.
going behind
How
me.
are you doing?
I'm good. Sorry. Ooh, I was getting distracted by Twitch chat. Yeah, I'm
God.
great. I was actually answering this to folks in Twitch chat earlier. It's been a very busy month, so much that I feel like I blinked and it just passed by.
Oh yeah, I
But
know.
not a bad thing. I think that means there's just a lot going on and that, I'm moving and grooving.
I actually didn't get too much sleep last night because our the Magic the Gathering games that we played last night after work, we were up a little late and that was a lot of fun. We had like 15 people from the studio playing Magic Commander after work. It's become a pretty considerable size group.
You guys always play on Thursdays, and it's it's not the best day for me. I was like, I want to play. I even bought a Commander deck because I've never done. I played a lot of MTG, but not Commander, and I'm kind of excited to play.
I love Commander. Yeah, you don't get the wacky,
especially with a big
combos.
group like that.
Oh yeah, we had an Emperor game, we had a Penta, we had a couple two-headed games.
What?
It was fun.
Nice.
Crazy
cool.
magic
I'm
people.
happy for that. The other element of that, what I was saying was like, it's been amazing working with this team because everyone's super passionate. And although I've worked on a lot of teams, I haven't worked on a lot of teams where everyone just like comes to work with like this enthusiasm for the day versus like, oh, I'm coming to work today. It's very different atmosphere. And, I absolutely adore everyone we work with. And my team personally has grown over the years. I know we're going to talk about it in the studio update, but it's pretty amazing. How are you doing? Yeah. I feel like you need a vacation.
I'm doing good. There's no time for vacations. No, I'm doing really good. I don't know. It's a little chilly today, so if I'm shaking, it's because I'm
chilly.
Cold.
You're in California.
And I left my jacket at home.
Shaking.
But no, I know. I'm doing good.
Suck it up.
Yeah, a lot of work this last month. The town hall. We had an internal town hall. Actually, was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember.
No, day before, Wednesday.
Day before yesterday, Wednesday.
Yeah, they're all melding together.
That was like a 3-hour town hall session for our studios.
Why?
But it was really great. And
their problems, Stephen?
It's always cool when everybody gets to see everything that everyone's working on, and we, are at the end of a particular milestone internally from our production team. Getting kind of that.
But I didn't play with my own cards. I played with other
at everything is a lot of
Because
fun and very
I did
inspiring.
not want to I did not want
So
to
I loved
purchase all that.
our internal town hall, and then
Yeah.
of course it's almost like a second stream, but just for the team.
Like an internal private
Yeah,
stream.
it's like an
Yeah.
internal live stream.
Yeah.
It
It
was
was
kind of
very
cool.
cool. And people are in chat going, what about getting some Ashes of Creation clothes to keep us warm? And we're working on
Oh,
it
I
on
know.
How
on
hard is
Yeah.
it
my
to get
end, on the marketing
merchandise?
side for sure. We know that a lot of people are asking for it within our community. So there's lots of stuff going on
I
that
got it.
front. I
I'm
think
gonna
Steven has
design
teased a little
Ashes
bit of like
merch
a while
myself
ago in
and
regards to
sell
it.
it.
Yes.
But as we get
Soon.
closer, we'll be sharing more stuff on that front. But we've got a whole slew of great things to cover today. So just if this is your first time tuning in with us, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see our like run of show. Basically, we have our
Purchase endeavors,
reminders, our
yeah, really.
studio update, which we talked a little bit about here, design and engineering update with some eventful segments in there, and an environment update, as well as character art update and Q&A. So we will get
I got a
right
lot
to
of
that.
goodies. A lot of
Kicking it
goodies
off
today.
with our reminders. First and foremost, we've got our question or our comment spotlight from YouTube. If you are a YouTube subscriber and you leave us a comment on our video, we will be selecting a random person and we'll
Hi,
read your
you can
comment.
go make a comment.
And if you have a question in there, we'll answer it. So this one is from Stephen Barley. Thank you for subscribing to us over on YouTube and leaving us a lovely comment. Their comment says, I love what you are doing with the game. With regards to character customization, I would love to see certain customizations that require in-game challenges to achieve. Maybe there would be some extremely hard to complete quests that allows you to obtain
I
unique
feel
eye
like
colors,
all of
hairstyles,
these,
scars,
everything
tattoos,
he listed here is
or
already
in
on
especially rare
the
cases, perhaps slightly
to-do list.
glowing or animated
I feel like
variations of
Steven has
those.
referenced it
And
before.
I don't know if you want to
I think
confirm
this
stuff.
I think Stefan might be in our studio, like with some bug devices or something. No,
See?
sorry, I called him Stefan because he spelled his name
Steven, Stefan, yeah. I'm not sure which how you pronounce it.
No, but yeah, that's absolutely something that that design and the character creator team has been, discussing. Stuff that we want to do is have unlockable features, as Stephen was discussing there, where like, oh, you have that scar because you participated in this siege or these many sieges, or you have this tattoo because of a cultural background or because of a quest that was accomplished, where you're able to get that. That's absolutely a level of progression that makes the character creator relevant, not just at the start of your experience in an MMO, but it gives you a reason to visit those salons and make changes to your character
Salons,
as
you
it
say?
grows and has a history, a background that can be communicated through these customization options. And that's a really cool an element to it that we want to incorporate 100%.
Yeah. So
Sounds fair.
what you're asking for, we got you, homie.
Boom.
Boom. Done. All right. Next up, of course, we have our reminder
These
for a
look
monthly
cool.
cosmetic swap
I
over.
didn't.
The
I
road
was
to
like I said
desolation
earlier. I was too
is
tired of
scheduled
doing
for
videos really the last couple
to
months.
swap over
But
on May 11th,
I like
2022
I
at
like the
11
little
a.m.
pet
Pacific. So
in
if
the
you'd like
top
those,
there.
snag
The
them while they're
mount looks
hot
pretty cool
because
with its
we're going to have
spider
some new ones coming your
things.
way. And of course, this
The
month we had
caravan.
a
It
little
looks
bit of
like
a different feedback. It wasn't
skeletons making
part of
it
our
up.
dev updates per se, but
Looks
let
good,
me
man. Looks good.
there. We had some hairstyle feedback that we requested from you all. And in regards to that, I think they'll be popping some in there, but we basically were asking you guys to kind of provide to us some of the hairstyles and hair types that you like. We heard a lot of your feedback
I
in
need
regards to
afros.
that. We actually compiled all the feedback about all of the
More afros,
character
more this time.
customization, and we went back and talked to the design team about it. Steven was there as well, and it seems like most of the things you guys want, we are going to be implementing. Obviously, when it came to the character creator, we weren't completely done showcasing all of the hairstyles that we'll have. We'll have a whole slew of them, different textures, different hair types and styles. But in the interim, because it was such a hot topic, we created a new thread where we hope you all will share images of hairstyles that you'd like to
Go
see,
blank.
so that we can
Um,
share those with our team and hopefully
I
incorporate them
guess
as much
Anders
as we
is fine.
possibly
He hasn't
can
talked much
in our
lately.
development phases.
And he hasn't been
Yeah,
on much.
and it's important to note,
And a lot of the
we've
guys
said
haven't
this many
played. Like
times, you guys are aware of this,
they
like
are so
art is
tired
a
with SWTOR and
continuing
all the
work in
changes that
progress.
happened. They have not played at all.
And the character creator, we wanted
So
to show you
it's
guys
real
kind
barren
of
right now,
the level of
unfortunately. Barren.
capabilities at an early stage, which means many of those assets, many of the ideas that you guys shared were already planned, and kind of part of the character creator roadmap.
Checking out
So
streaming
look
on
forward to in
Facebook.
the future getting more updates
works.
on those features as they get implemented.
For sure.
Well,
And we
I
will be
like
compiling
myself.
that. So make sure that you head on over to our forums, check out the discussion feedback thread requesting hairstyles for the character creator over there and toss us their feedback. I believe I saw Dagnar and Roshan posting it in chat. Click on it, leave us some images of what you'd like to see. And I think with that, that wraps up our reminders. Short and sweet today. Next
Short
up, we
and
have our
sweet.
studio update, which I will toss over
10
to
minutes
Stephen.
in.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Paying off
the
your leech support.
studio
Did you
is
get a second job
growing,
again or a third
actually.
job now?
Since the start of this year, we have hired
A lot.
23 additional people to the
That's
team,
pretty good.
which is really cool. Because we are getting an incredible amount of talented individuals, but aside from the talent, individuals who are just MMORPG fans and players, and
Dance
they
party
have
in the
a
background.
passion for this genre and for the project, and they were following along. And it's really nice to be in a position from a studio perspective where your project is known and it's desired amongst the industry to participate with it, and you have these natural applications and interests that are coming every day that our HR team
Well, that must be nice.
and is doing really great hard work. Stacy and Cameron Midori and John helping to onboard and facilitate these applicants. So very excited for that. The teams are growing. I love seeing the teams growing. I go out to lunch with the teams and meet these new faces, and I love seeing just the
I
passion
genuinely
in the
feel he
eyes
is
of people who
a
are working
fantastic
on
boss
bringing
to
to
work
life
with.
what you guys
Not
want, what
just
we
if he was
want,
working in this
and what is going to be the
atmosphere of
next
video
great thing
games that
when
he
it
has a
comes to
passion
MMOs.
for.
So
I think
the
anything he does, he probably has a
growth is
great
doing really good.
relationship with the
Internally, we
staff.
also are very close to getting our
Throws the
graphics
cracker in the
done
circle.
and
He holds a cracker.
our logos and signs and everything put up, and the studio set dress to the point where we're going to start recording some videos with the team and give you guys some insight. I know we've done those in the past, and we've talked about how we're going to be doing them here in the future again, but I'm excited to get that stuff running again. It's going to be really cool, I think, for you guys to get a behind the scenes look. I know Margaret's super excited about that as well.
This is my whole team has just been chomping at the bits to do more things like that. So if you really enjoyed the Dev Diary series, we want to do more of those things, and also just bite-sized stuff on social, through like Instagram stories, Snapchat, maybe TikTok,
Absolutely.
things like that. So
yes.
And
And then on top of that, we actually completed our first milestone of the year last week, I believe it was the end or beginning of last week. Can't quite discuss everything that was there because not all of it is ready yet, but a lot of great things internally from a development standpoint that is going very well and is very exciting, which will be trickling out over, I know I'm teasing this, but it'll be trickling out over the next few months to see that kind of stuff. So all in all, things are going really good on the studio front.
Yeah, it's been very, very exciting for me too, because I've gotten to experience what it was like when we're all kind of like in a little garage studio where we could like open up the garage door and it was like a small group.
Oh my gosh!
And now it's like this massive building that we're in, and I don't get to see everybody every day. It's so weird.
Right, and you might see some faces and you're like, who's that person? And you're like, that's a weird experience.
I am fortunate in the company that I get to see all of the new hires as they come in, because we're like flagging their accounts and things like that. So I do get to see faces, kind of like little pictures of them, but sometimes they don't match necessarily what they look like, in person, especially people who use like Goku as their image or something. But it has been
who's allowed to
cool
put Goku as their
image?
It is
I'm
cool.
I'm excited, and like when we see potlucks and it's just like this massive amount of people in the cafeteria, it just
Oh
excites
yeah.
me. Yeah.
It is always fun to see that for sure. And last potluck, you guys had a little Ren
Yeah,
Fair
we did a
dress up.
Ren
That was
fair.
cool.
Yeah. We posted some photos of folks who wanted to be in photos. So if you want to check that out, it's on our LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those places. Some people brought their A game with
Go
costumes.
on a
I just
weird
threw on
screen
something
just
quick.
to see what happens.
But let's move on to the design and engineering
Aren't
update
all
then.
experiences
Let's
with you
first
very weird?
preface, everything that we talk about is subject to change potentially through development as we test things. So just keep that in mind as we talk about things here. But first, let's talk about what have they been doing generally on the design and engineering side. Maybe
There's
start with engineering and then go into
sure.
design so we can tie it into today's topic.
Yeah. There's been a lot of stuff
Like what,
that's been
boss man?
that's been worked on over the last month. Engineering's really been focusing a lot on let's see, we have the node layout tool that's been getting some adjustments that Roy's been working on, and the node team on the design side has been
Completely up the
working
person.
on,
That's true.
especially with environment. It's kind of like changing the way that the node layouts work. Um, to facilitate some of the additional service buildings that are going to be incorporated in Alpha 2.
Like what?
We want to kind of
Such a
create a
tease.
layout tool that allows even, each of the nodes to kind of be represented in a unique way. We've talked about that in the past, but more importantly, also that we maintain consistency on certain building locations, especially player housing, and specific building service building types as we progress into stages 4, 5, and 6 of the nodes progression. So that's something that's been getting a little bit of a redesign. In addition, you guys probably noticed in Alpha 1 how many of the nodes were relatively flat. There was not a lot of topography when it came to kind of
I mean,
sections or
they're
districts
totally
of the
generic.
city
Well,
that
besides the
lived at different
architecture, but
heights,
layout.
essentially kind of creating a unique silhouette that's possible with the node layout. So now that we've had kind of our approach for Alpha 2 with the nodes that we've manually been constructing from a layout perspective that Chris Justo and Bucky and Jason Neal have been kind of participating and fleshing
Bucky.
out. The engineering team has been providing for that node layout tool the type of additional requirements that are requested. Also on the AI systems, engineering's been working closely with Chong and the design team on kind of the requirements that the Alpha 2 creatures need to have from a behavior tree perspective, the ability to kind of weigh certain actions and or response arcs that exist within that behavior tree. How do we how do we value
Their
those
creature
scores? How do
NPC
we make
behavior trees, I think, is going to be a
those
little
types of
ridiculous. Well,
actions
not
live in
ridiculous
parallel
in a
with
good
one
way.
another, right? If I'm trying to cast an
How?
ability as a monster, but I'm also trying to move to a particular waypoint as a result of some other
Yeah,
occurrence on the player's
that's it.
behalf, I need to be able to calculate that in the AI's
Because right now, Sam and
um,
SWOTOR are playing. An
brain
NPC will just
at the
stand
same
there and
time with
shoot
one
at
another,
you
right?
and shoot at you
So a lot of
without moving,
engineering work has been
unless it's
led
part of some
by
sort of
Russell
boss
Peltz
battle mechanic.
on changing up the AI systems from Alpha 1 to accommodate all of the additional behaviors that we want to see out of the creatures,
Oh.
that even that the dynamic type of behaviors, right? So there's a significant amount of work that's been done on that front. Combat has been a huge endeavor over the last actually several months, and through a lot of the prototyping that the design team and the engineering team and our VFX team and our animation team have been
On the
working
character
on.
art team.
Yeah,
It's like all of them together.
for sure, 100%. Character art, not so much in the combat prototyping, because the models are
Shut
kind
up,
of
Margaret.
staying consistent there. But for example, with the assassin class, with the with our dagger weapons, we didn't previously have that in Alpha 1, so those are entirely new animation sets that are required to have those dual
Assassins.
wielded kind of daggers. And that's something you guys might be seeing soon in the future. But that prototyping phase over the last several months has really been to kind of flesh out the major revamp that we've been working on for combat, because part of the biggest amount of feedback that we got from Alpha 1 was with regards to combat, and we have a lot of ideas on the things that we wanted to try. And the best way to kind of flesh those ideas out obviously is through prototyping. And in development, prototyping is just kind of combination of rapid iteration, of standing up these ideas without full-fledged kind of code support, doing so in a blueprint setting or in a test level, where you can really kind of throw a lot of different things at the wall, and you can rapidly iterate on how that stuff feels, get feedback from the team, feedback from focus groups, and then you can take the direction that is getting the kind of best bang for the feeling buck, so to speak. So it's been great to kind of see that. But in addition, that phase allows for us to really expand upon the versatility of what our ability system can do, and that's been spearheaded by Keenan and Adam. With regard on the code side, with regards to what design has access to do for all the ability systems, right? And not just the ability systems, but also like your combat weapon montages and your basic attacks. So there's been a lot of work on that front. It's not quite ready to show. I know so many people
Everybody
are
wants to see what the
waiting to
combat
see
looks like.
combat updates.
It's the top thing we get
It is
asked
100%,
time.
but we have to be very careful when we present what's been worked on, that it has to be at a particular state that's presentable, right? Obviously, you guys know this. You're a core audience. You're tuning in here and you're watching our live streams. But the moment we release an update with regards to combat, that spreads like wildfire, right? That's what we call essentially a marketing beat. This is something that is out of our control. It's content creators pick it up. They're going to show it to very unengaged audiences, and we want to make sure that the presentation is at a point where when it grabs those legs that we don't have control over from a marketing perspective, that it'll stand by itself. It won't need our verbal support and kind of talking about it. It'll be a visual component that is visceral and looks good and has people's support. So
we want to set the right precedent, because if people look at something and it's a prototype and it's in really early phases, they might make comments like, "Oh, this isn't very good combat," and it's like,
absolutely.
"Well, we know that it's a prototype, so that's why we have to make sure
put
that
a watermark. Just put watermarks everywhere."
The delicate blend between a transparent development process, but also understanding that majority of your player audience will not grasp or will not take into context what a work in progress looks like. So certain things we have to polish to the point where they're presentable, where they can be understood again in its own context without my verbal support or Margaret's verbal support, right?
I think a great example of that is the character creator.
Yeah.
Right? We went through many phases prior to that of the character creator, and we would not have wanted to share those with you all, not because we don't want to share the development process, but because there will be people who take that and look at it and go, "This isn't, why would I want to play that?" Right?
Yeah, the character creator is a prime example of what good looks like when it comes to a feature that can stand on its own, right? That's something that can be shared and people understand that. So anyways, I don't want to go off on the combat too much. But essentially, the combat, the ability systems, the tool support there has progressed a significant amount. And by the way, as prototyping lends to those additional features within the combat tools, it actually is an exponential speed modifier, right? When those additional things come online, we can actually more rapidly prototype and more rapidly iterate as well, which feeds back into kind of the process of getting good combat, right? Of getting something that feels good. So there's been a lot of work on that front. Buoyancy and vehicle physics. There's been a lot of work done from Michael Brady and from Mikhail
If they
on
nail the
mount
buoyancy of boats,
controls, on flight and gliding
that'll be
mechanics that'll be
fantastic. It really
present in
will.
Alpha 2, the buoyancy of ships, the physics behind
And if
vehicle
they get
movement for siege
major
weapons.
storms
We
on
had
the
some representation of
seas
that,
of
of course, in
Vera,
Alpha 1. But since
and then
Alpha
we can
1, it was
PvP
added to
during
the
like a
schedule, of course, for us to
hurricane,
go back
and
to
we're
refine
going
those
up
things.
30,
They're
40
works in
feet waves
progress.
with
We
our
have
boats
additional
and up and
passes that
down.
are done on
Oh
them,
my
additional
god. The
support that's
PvP, I
presented
would
for those things.
purposely
And I'm
raid
happy to say
people
that
just during
they're
storms for
looking
that.
quite good, and you may see some updates on those in the near future. Networking has been a big, of course, endeavor on the engineering side. There's been a lot of work on that front by Zach and by Hunter and by Ben. Um, and that actually is pretty exciting, but of course I can't talk too much about that stuff.
Yeah.
The platform, the web teams, our back end services, Mark and his team have been doing an incredible job from an engineering perspective on supporting pretty much everything that the gameplay engineers are needing from them. So
And
it's
also
exciting to
my
see.
team. I
Yes,
appreciate them greatly. I
absolutely.
work with
Yes.
that team a lot. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, all right. Shut up.
Itemization
Let's
and
go.
crafting.
whew,
There's
hefty.
there's actually a lot of changes that we have not yet discussed on the crafting front. So you guys have had a pretty rudimentary insight into what crafting is in Ashes of Creation. And in Alpha 1, we just had the basic core loops, right? Which is like I collect a thing,
I
I
hit a thing,
combine
I
a
get a
thing,
thing, I put some
and
Well,
I
it's the
inventory.
get it.
basics. You got to make sure
Yeah,
that it
exactly.
works.
Collect, combine, get. And that is a pretty simplistic approach that we wanted to just have present from, again, a gameplay loop that was in Alpha 1. But Alpha 2 is meant to really represent a few of these professions in their true form from gathering, processing, and a crafting's perspective. Now, there's some additional gameplay layers that are intended to be tested as part of Alpha 2 as it relates to actually crafting, excuse me, crafting something or processing something. There additionally is a concept called um, surveying, which is a component of gathering that makes things a little bit different than what players have been accustomed to in most MMOs in the past. And just to give you a little bit of idea behind kind of those
Tell me
gameplay
more,
layers that
Steven.
we're thinking about, we've talked about ideas like land management, and as you draw resources from your surrounding area, what type of effect does that have on the land?
Monsters.
And
Monsters.
then also, how effectively can you draw those resources without having such a deleterious effect on the land, right? Which might impact future resource gathering for some period of time. And it makes
Strip mine it.
relevant the
Wipe
movement
it
of
out.
these players who are collecting these goods from the environment, that they actually cannot always just do so in one particular area as the land management begins to degrade. So it actually encourages movement across the world to discover new areas that might not be as perturbed as the ones you're coming from.
Perturbed.
It's a very interesting idea. It's something that we're going to be prototyping in Alpha 2 and getting feedback on and testing. Corey and Mike Hahn have been leading endeavors on the design side for those types of ideas, which are really fun, and we're going to talk about at some point in the future as well. Outside of that, we've also had a considerable amount of work that has been coming out of the design side from Chris Justo's Node Pod with Bucky and Jason and a few of our other designers on service buildings and the node superpowers and relics and the reliquary system that's going to be present in Alpha 2, the types of benefits that are conferred there, the gameplay
Good
between
political
capturing those
speaking,
relics
but
and
shitty gamer talk.
stealing them
Yeah, really.
or sabotaging their return to the nodes. What
That's
type
fine.
of passive benefits do they grant the citizens? What types of active benefits are being conferred upon vassal states, the upgrade paths that are going to be present within the service buildings, working with environment to kind of mask out sections of a building until the upgrade comes online and a new room opens up or a new wing or a new story. It's really interesting to kind of see the specialization paths that are possible on an individual node basis that makes that particular node node a waypoint for certain types of players, right? And how it drives traffic from the player base to those nodes that increases things like the taxable revenue that's possible. And then that, of course, bleeds into the types of additional
I
buildings or
so bad want
defensive
our
mechanics
guild,
or
Baron,
initiatives and
BMF, to
events that
get
can be done.
together, get a node of our own,
Incorporating things like node
and like
policies from almost a civic standpoint
have a really
that
successful
grants
node
certain
in one
types of
category or genre
actions
of the
that the
four of
node
them:
government can take, whether
religion
it be
or
diplomatic actions like
economics,
potentially
science, whatever.
conflicts with
I
other
want to be
nodes and the
really
wars that
successful.
happen, what type of rep you need to have with those other nodes from a
I want
diplomatic
people to come
perspective
to
can be
us to make
influenced by
stuff
these policies.
because we have bonuses
There's a lot of stuff that's been
or
worked on from the
whatever.
node team that's being supported by our engineering team with regards to this feature development in preparation for Alpha 2. So as an engineering design kind of overview, I'm sorry if I'm super long-winded.
No,
in
it's
this.
great.
There's
The
just so
chat
much
is
stuff.
the chat's
He's
like my
tiring
brain is
himself out too.
melting because there's just so much stuff. And Stephen will not be able to go through everything. There's
No, I
even more
can't.
stuff. We'd be here all day.
There's a lot. Sometimes I feel like my mind is on the precipice of just breaking in half when there's just what there is to cover on a daily basis from my schedule. But there is so much to be excited about that this team is working on, and not only that they're working on, but that they are creating in such a way that is unlike any experience that I've had as a gamer and as an MMO player. And I'm just so incredibly excited. And I guess I'm fresh off the heels of our internal live stream, our town hall. So if I seem overly excited, it's because watching the presentation at the end of our first 2022 milestone has made me excited. So I apologize. I apologize to you and to those out there who do not have this game in their hands yet. If I am hyping this, I don't want to be like, I'm not hyping this. I'm just very excited myself. And I want to convey the excitement to you guys. But I also want to temper that there's still a lot of development.
We have a lot of work.
Still in development. There's a lot of work. And last stream, we showed a very big system, the character creator, and we showed, are we dying? Are we losing?
Oh yeah, the internet just crashed.
Oh,
okay. I thought it was me.
Wait.
Oh, it's back.
Wait a minute. Are we back?
See if the stream dropped.
How are we doing? Stand by.
Seems like we're still up, so.
All right.
We'll wait for it to. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Seems like the internet took a hiccup.
Okay, I think we're back. But anyways, I just wanted to say
too early, sir.
Another thing is
we
that
can hear you. I don't care if you're
last month we showed off the character creator, right? And that's obviously was a very exciting thing for everyone to see. It gives you a level of quality for what we're hoping to achieve with all of our systems in the game in general, and you guys get to see that stuff. And but that we are actively in development, and we need to be conscientious of how we present the systems during our development. And what that means is sometimes we're not going to have streams that are as as exciting, as visually appealing as a character creator. So I just want to make sure we temper expectations that we're going to show you guys stuff. We're going to show you stuff strategically that's smart and that can be shown by other content creators and stuff. But just be patient for that. I know you guys have been patient. We appreciate that. We love the patience that our community has. But understand that patience will yield a very good product. So
that's what fills my days, and when I'm not fighting, when you're not doing anything,
talking a little bit,
and you want to make money or just make
stuff
or help people
how
out,
that works,
crafting things.
Transitioning to that.
Yeah,
we have a little video that we'll play.
I like event systems.
Just some B-roll video. Whilst we talk about this.
Roll? Oh. Yeah, I don't know what those are. Goblins?
Somebody said that. Margaret, someone said that you cut the stream to stop me from leaking.
I didn't. I think it was Twitch because I didn't touch anything. We actually didn't stop the stream. It was like Twitch hiccuped, and then we're back now. So
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually have mute power. I can just mute Steven.
I know.
I
Now
own
don't
the
mute me.
power.
No
Alright, so we got
bully.
some
No bully.
I
goblins.
know I wouldn't ever.
Um, so
That's a joke, maybe, but
what we wanted to talk about on today's stream was a little bit more systems driven. Chatting kind of about how content gets introduced into the world, and things like these little goblins that you see. By the
yeah.
way, I love these little goblins.
Yeah, they're cool. I like
I
the
also
shaman.
That's
yeah,
it?
the shaman's cool, but what I love about the goblins is they're really a unique monster race from the sense that they have social organization to themselves, right? And lot of monsters kind of share that aspect, that they have these
The
kind of
map
social
reminds me
organizations
of
where you can
Banjo-Kazooie.
develop goblin tactics,
Right,
and
Banjo?
you
Yeah.
can have some goblin identities, and you can have variants in those types of the types of goblins that you can even experience. But anyways, so when we're talking about events, we've talked about this in the past a little bit. Some of you guys know the event system, but
We haven't talked
really,
about it in like over a
what the
year.
events represent is a way for us to attempt and introduce content in a more fluid, in a more natural, in a more kind of progression based way that the world is reacting to player activity. And what we mean by player activity is in the event system, we have certain predicates, and these predicates act as requirements that must be satisfied
Okay.
before a particular story arc or a particular event can kick off, right? And these events are very very wide ranging in what they can be, right? This could be a plague that's sweeping the lands. It could be a natural disaster that is a forest fire or a volcanic eruption. It could
Oh,
be a
yeah.
response from a particular NPC faction or a monster faction, like here you see the goblins kind of assaulting a town. But what's interesting about these events, and something that I think correlates to kind of how I run D&D campaigns as well, is that there's always a clock ticking in the world, right? There's always something that's happening in the background, regardless of what player decisions are made sometimes, right? These things can continue to develop. And if you don't pay attention to them, or if you don't respond to them, if you do not stop them from advancing in stages, right? These things will have effects on your day-to-day activities. They will
So if I ignore the goblins, I'm
create
gonna have them chasing
obstacles.
my
They
ass all day.
will potentially destroy buildings. They will create havoc within the game player world that will force you to respond. And
I like that.
if you do not, you will suffer the consequences. So
It's
let's
almost
see.
like
Did you give me? Let me see.
daily
Yeah, I have
If I have
events.
little
these.
talking
Or
points
not
for
daily
you
events,
here.
but like
Oh,
daily
sweet.
missions or
Yeah.
whatever in Star
Steven,
Wars:
Steven's
The Old
using the run
Republic
of
or
show,
other
you guys. It's
MMOs.
exciting.
This is
I
almost like
know.
a natural one
I'm
that
so
rotates out. Or
sorry.
like SWTOR
Just
has
I'm
messing.
like, where
they
is my
run
run of the
events once,
show?
twice a month
Okay,
for
I
a
think
week,
I have it here. Okay,
but
perfect.
they're scheduled. This
So
sounds like
one
it'll
of the things that
tick up and
we
randomly
kind of
activate.
consider behind the event applications
Be cool
are
if
like
multiple
where these
events could
events live.
happen.
So
Goblin
obviously,
attack,
one of the most
volcano.
common probably events that you guys have experienced in other MMORPGs are calendar events. Calendar events can be server-wide events that give us unique content based on the duration of either some type of real-world holiday or in-game holiday or beat. Now, that's not to say that these are going to be campy or that they're going to be, out of immersion, so to speak. We have a lot of ideas on how certain real-world holidays can be contextualized within the game world and
And
seem fitting, right?
we actually asked you all for your feedback in regards to events and holidays, and if you'd like to see those. And looking at the feedback from that, it seems like you guys want a mix. You want a mix of in-game holidays and seasonal events and things like that that are pertinent to the culture of
I
the
agree.
world and different from real life. And then you also want some that coincide with
Like
real life, but have their own
Christmas is a big
culture
one.
and purpose in the
Absolutely.
game. And I think
Yes.
we can
I
definitely
think
incorporate all of
Christmas,
that feedback for sure.
Yeah, and
Valentine's
part of the
is
great
always a good
thing
one
that the
to put in
content team, the
games.
narrative team,
They
that's
always work it in.
Scott and Chris and Amy and Win
Campy
and
one.
Tony,
Hudson's camping.
part of the things that they're working on is creating a lot of cultural identity for these character races, and how we can bring about kind of these calendar events from the perspective of each individual race. That's something that I think is going to be really helping identify or giving identity to each of the character races. The other thing I want to say is that Amy and Clayton have been working very hard on this event system. So I want to give them super kudos, big
Super
props
kudos.
to Amy Watanabe and Clayton Stamper.
Also
Next thing,
Scott
yeah.
and I believe
Oh,
Chris
Scott
Holtorf.
Bacara, Chris Holtorf,
Yeah.
absolutely, and recently Tony as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So note
I'm like, you
attacks.
gotta list all the names.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So the next thing, and this is kind of indicative of the little video that you see here, the little loop that we're playing, is node attacks. Some of the events that spawn have consequences that lead to node attacks, right? And enemies have a particular type of hate list on certain buildings that a node may have access to when they attack during an event. And that hate list might relate to or that building choice might relate to something that is indicative of the storyline for that particular event, or it could be something that is more pivotal to the defense of the city if the city doesn't respond to these types of things that might weaken them for potential player attacks afterwards, right? And that's something that's very important as well.
I love this.
Monster coin events. We've talked about this in the past. Monster coins are obviously items that allow players to become monsters for some period of time. Events allow players to kind of opt in from the monster's perspective and take out their rage on other players or different factions, but without having to be their own player character at that time. I think that breaks up the monotony of what playing your character class might always represent on a day-to-day basis, and give you a little bit of fun.
I'll drop what I'm doing. Minus I cast.
A little bit of a fun part-time away from that. The other thing is our kind of POI events. So POI events typically tell stories of the particular POI, right? Like, why does this POI exist? Why are there monsters here? This point of interest that might be some tower or might be some dungeon. How does that population interact with the rest of the world outside of just its point of interest, right? And those things could be precursors for node attacks themselves. It could address the story of nearby threats as antagonists to civilization in general. Enemies can only really grow stronger as the node grows, becoming outposts essentially for exiled or rivals of the existing order. The other thing about node conflict NPCs is that they might have influential inhabitants of the world, right? You might have, a dude who's the leader of the speakeasies, and they, have information to give you. And if you don't, interact with them, they might give you that information to your enemies, and that might spawn off some other event. So these are also closely integrated with storylines and story arcs in general. The other thing, you could have certain type of PvP objectives and PvP driven events. The event system is used to create PvP situations in the open world as almost battlegrounds, right? Open world battlegrounds. And I've talked about this in the past as well. But usually my definition of what a battleground is non-traditional. It's not typically something that is defined in the same way in other MMORPGs, but I kind of view them as these small skirmishes that might lead up to a siege or to a war, and they might have capture points during node and castle fights. And these PvP objectives may be more relevant for smaller groups than for giant raids, and you might have concurrently running objectives during a particular event where you have to dispatch groups simultaneously to go address these objectives in order to complete one particular type of event or one particular type of success condition. So like that is another element of our PvP objectives and how they work in the event system as well. One important thing to note about events in general is notifications are are sent to the players, right? Players can kind of opt into these events in a similar way that you would into a quest, right? You're going to be presented with a, would you like to participate? But they might not, they might not always be that way. You might hear trees falling in the forest, and that may be an audio cue to tell you something's happening over there. It's out of the ordinary. This is not
I gotta run
normally an
around with
audio
my
cue that I
audio on
hear
at
in
all
this
times
area,
now.
and I'm going to go investigate that thing. So it might not just be always that kind of UI
Like
window
90% of
represented
the
with
time,
a
I don't have my
participate or
audio
not,
on in
but
any
I'm
game.
going to go investigate.
Well,
And in that sense, it could be
MMO.
stage driven. So you might have the more local
Halo,
stage where it
it's
is
gotta
just
be
the
on for
visual
that.
or audio cues, and you get to go participate in that stage. And then when it advances, or if you don't answer the problem in time, then it starts to expand regionally. And then it might send out particular notifications to either citizens of the node from which it falls under its purview, or even broader than that, right? It could be global driven events. And then it could have things that are visual cues that are really big, like a giant blizzard that's affecting the zone because the event hasn't been addressed. And that can affect the crop rotations, or it can affect passages and roads and how caravans move. You know, there's a lot that the predicate system informs to the event system, and then the event system reacts to those types of predicates, right? There's also event levels. The level of a particular event content is scaled essentially with the level of the content that triggers it. So for example, if the event takes place in a zone that has a base population of, let's say, average level 25, then one of the trigger conditions might be that 10 monsters of level 25 have been killed recently in that zone, and the level 25 event will now spawn additional content designed for level 25 players. So these events aren't always going to be end game. They're going to be obviously appropriate based on the content in which the predicate system is informing, but they also could be something completely top level that is introduced at a lower level area and brings population traffic of the players back to those types of things. There's one other important thing is that events are driven by what we call a state machine, right? And there are essentially 5 types of states that exist for events. There's the in progress state, there's the active state, inactive, on cooldown, or disabled. And that is essentially a way that we inform what types of elements, what stage of activity things are coming online based on what event state is currently active at the moment.
And due to the fact
we
how
talk a little bit
difficult
about
it's
kind
gonna
of
be to
triggers.
level to max
We
and
have
gear
world
up,
conditions like node
they could
levels. We
probably
have
launch and not
seasons and
have
climates and calendar,
the
the
end game
service
done for
building
like 3
activation,
months as
relics, and
people work their
completed
way up. Yeah,
raids.
people power
All of
level,
these things
but there
can be
won't be
part of what
massive
informs. I'm
groups
not going to go
of
into what
people
everything can be. I
to
don't want to
do
dish
end
out,
game
the
content.
the
I
nitty
bet you they
gritties of
could
the system
probably,
per
if they were
se,
smart,
but
get
I'm just giving you
themselves
an
like 2
idea
to
of
3
what
extra
essentially
months
allows events to become a thing.
of free
And then
time to
once
fix
those things
stuff
are
and fix
addressed or not
bugs, and then
addressed,
drop a bunch of end game
certain
content.
cooldowns get triggered. Other conditions might
Make sure
trigger.
everything's
It could
nice and
form as a
working,
predicate
and
for
then
an
pile
additional
on a
event.
bunch
There
of
could
end
be
game
concurrent events.
that they need to probably fine tune.
Are we alive? I feel like we're dropping again.
You're dropping.
Yeah, it looks like Twitch is hiccuping again.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Twitch.
no.
It's you, Margaret.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we're back.
Disappointment.
It's still in the red,
We're under attack.
and now it's green again.
And
But
we're
there's
back.
an ad playing, so give it 4 seconds.
Not like these.
Yay! Okay,
Yay.
we're good again. Yeah,
All right,
Twitch
Just
is.
keep talking. Don't worry about
F's
it.
in chat. F's in chat for connection.
Fortunately, it's not my internet; it's Twitch's side,
No, it's
so it's
not
not
Twitch
cutting.
because
It's not
this
like
video
making
stream
the
is
video
fine.
cut.
Don't lie to me, Margaret.
Yes, that's true.
It's your Skype or whatever.
Okay,
Who cares? Just talk.
But anyway, so that's the general kind of new information that you may or may not have had in the past
The event
regarding
system
events.
is going
I'm
to
not
be
sure if I
great.
missed anything.
They have a lot of great
think
systems and
it's
concepts
going red
that
again.
if they do them to
No.
maybe not
Okay,
like an
good.
amazing level, but they do what they say that they plan to
video
do,
skips,
this
but the
game will be
audio is fine.
fantastic. And in the first year, they can flush everything out.
Well,
as they tweak things,
we always can't
realize,
have.
oh, people don't like this. Let's
remember when we
tweak
used to
this,
have
add
so
this,
many
do that.
issues, audio issues, and like you may not remember that. 'cause
I
when you
wasn't
got
here. It was before my time.
Uh-oh. But now it is your time. No, I'm just kidding.
But this is not me.
It's you,
I'm
Margaret.
just messing. I'm just messing.
Margaret, it's
But
totally
now
you.
it
The
is your
video's
time,
fine.
Stephen.
The time
Oh,
of the
no,
orchestra.
Ty.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
Well,
gosh.
you have a wonderful
Anyways,
night.
did
I
I
don't know
miss
if you're going to
anything
work or whatever.
in
But I appreciate you stopping by, buddy.
explanation? Or there any questions you have for me about
Come back and watch the
events
rest of
at
the
all,
video in
Margaret?
case they
I don't think.
show
I
off
think
anything
the
cool.
only thing I would want to mention is that this isn't all of
There's,
them.
No. We
Yeah.
want to obviously
another-
this type of system.
Oh, I don't want to math. 20, 30 minutes left.
Are we still alive?
It says
Maybe.
we are, but it's definitely
Maybe it's the
skipping.
goblin video. Let's kill the
Should
goblin.
we kill the
But it's
goblin
not.
video? Okay.
I don't know.
I don't think it should be because it's my CPU is like 2%.
It's you,
Maybe
Margaret.
Twitch can't handle the
Maybe
goblins. The
Twitch
goblins are
is-
too powerful
The
for
goblins
Twitch.
are strong.
God.
Goblins are strong. Okay. Yeah. So to Margaret's point, this obviously isn't everything about the system. We don't want to reveal everything about the system, but we do want to give you context for how the system interacts with the players. And we
Fine
do
by
want to
me.
give you kind of an idea of how these things
Yeah, I don't
advance
want
and
them to like
progress and
spit out
how
all
they
of
get
the
initiated, and just to give
all
you
the
a general
details of the system. I want
idea
mystery.
of all of what events can entail, so that you know the type of living, breathing, typical cliche terminology that's used for these types of systems.
Yeah.
But the goal is to really create something that feels immersive, that feels organic, that feels reactive to kind of player agency in the world. And the event system is one of those components. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of basically that risk versus reward versus consequence that we have talked about many times when it comes to Ashes of Creation. We want you, if you ignore those goblins, they're going to be plotting something. So you will
Yep.
have to, deal with what the repercussions of those are. But if you're, take care of it early on, maybe you're rewarded for that. So kind of keeping those
Absolutely.
things in mind.
Absolutely.
Also, I believe there will be a feedback thread about events that is going to be popped up now-ish. Vecnar, I know you're making it live. So if you
do it
could pop
live.
that live now, you're welcome to go over to our forums, leave us feedback in regards to your thoughts. We'll also have an article that will be going out,
Ooh,
I
that's
believe,
getting
next
warm.
week. And
getting
that
warm.
will also kind of give you a rundown of this again if you're, if reading is a little bit easier for you than listening to us talk. But we'll also embed the video segment so you can, listen back and read at the same time along with us. I did have
feel like
one
it-
question that was
I feel-
asked. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like it was the goblin video. Like maybe we should have made them gremlins because they were messing. I'm just kidding.
I don't think
Yeah,
it
what
is.
was the
I think
question?
Twitch is having server issues right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I looked at their thing. I think they were having server issues.
Got it.
In regards to this question that I saw in chat, I think it might be something that you could answer. And
Sure.
it's from Levioima. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Levioima.
They wanted to know, you don't have to answer this today, but I would appreciate
Okay.
an answer on stream over the next couple of days. If you are going to link some holidays to out-of-game events, how will you resolve the time difference? Since it was said that in-game time will be faster than real-world time, like 4 times faster, I believe. And that's kind of a valid question to ask.
Oh,
And-
I see. So
yeah.
will
That is a good
will
question.
seasonal events in the real world align with the seasonal rotation in the game world? I think in that sense, probably not. That's going to require a little bit of suspension of disbelief in understanding that. But it's also fair that in-game events do not need to be perfectly cyclical, like let's say seasonal events are in the real world. They could have a non-uniform cycle associated with them.
We could have
But yeah,
in-game
we
Christmas
also,
every 4
there is
game
something to
years.
be said for
Or
having that
cycles.
represented in the game, as long as it's immersive, as long as it's contextualized within the story and the world and the universe that we've
Well,
created,
Halloween
and
is
isn't a
another
direct
great
homage to Santa Claus in the real world, right?
like real life holiday to bring
Just to
into
use
the
a
in a
prime
game
example or
Yeah.
something.
Any game that has done Halloween,
But it
has put
can
a
be a
little
fun
effort
it can be a
into it,
fun thing for
I've
players to
enjoyed.
experience, and it doesn't always have to. Uh-oh.
I
It's
go back
not
to
again.
I always
Oh
think of Star Wars
my.
Galaxies.
Yeah.
Their holiday events were
Which is
pretty
Oh,
fantastic.
not happy.
Their Valentine's
Oh.
event was little Ewoks and little hearts everywhere.
I am recording
and it was
locally
hot
right
chocolate
now,
you gave
so
as gifts.
for this end bit, just in
Then
case.
you had Life Day for Christmas, and
hardcore
the
hits.
first Life Day they had with the event was a giant
Twitch. Is it
tree.
Twitch?
that would
What are they
spawn
doing?
every single time,
I
which
don't
of
know.
course we
Okay,
abused,
but either way,
used
hopefully
and
I answered your
abused
question.
is in
I think that was
PvP.
a good answer.
Hilarious. And then
Let's see,
Halloween was
Bronze
Jabba the Hutt held the event,
but they'll be able
and
to
he
see
made it
the
all spooky
video
and
as
Moss
well.
Eisley and
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
and
good.
spider
What do
webs.
we got
It was
next?
great.
Our next thing
Art?
is
And
environment
around
art.
summertime,
Yay.
4th of July, they had
So let's go ahead and
Celebration
hop
Day,
over there.
which also lined up
So
similar with
the
the
first
launch of
thing
the new game,
is, I don't know if you
or
want to
when
talk
the
a little
game
bit about what
launched.
environment has been working on,
Ooh,
but
that's nice.
I know they've been working on a lot of biome oriented things in regards to Alpha 2.
Well, and so this is so we're doing concepts. So this is some
Seems like
concept
I don't know where I
that
am.
Joe has done with regards to fleshing
Pirate
out some of
Village
the
homes.
architectures of the Pirate culture. So these are different types of home concepts for the Pirate. And you can see, obviously, the approach here is to be as seamless between the
I wonder if
environment
those
that
trees are going to glow,
these homes exist
because I
in
think that would be really
and the
nifty.
architecture itself. So there's a lot of root structures that are incorporated. They're likely going to be using similar foliage actors that exist within the world as a means to integrate these types of structures with their surrounding environment. I really love how Joe kind of
Hey, Joe.
captures not just the element of the building here and the design of that particular building for the modelers to kind of utilize, but also to give context for how these buildings live within the environment by incorporating the ancillary natural features. So,
And this is
very
definitely
cool.
work in progress. They're just kind of trying to solidify, how do these different layers live? How do they interact with the environment, as Steven said? So take note that these are not final. These are just concepts to kind of give us a
I like
an
the
understanding of where we're
how
headed
it's a
with them.
tree that's being
The
grown to
next thing
basically
that we're
form
going to
this
show here
house.
is the Ayla
That's a nice touch.
ruins, which
Nice little broken
this is
castle.
obviously in-game screenshots. These are modular sets that in the beginning of the new portal area ruins for the Ayla Elder race to be used throughout the Riverlands. So we've shown off the Riverlands stuff in the past already.
Yeah, I played
Oh, I
this.
see.
And now
I
you're
see it
getting
now.
to see a little
Same.
bit further of those.
I'm watching on stream as well.
Yeah, it's lagging. I'm recording locally, so we can.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
use
no
the
worries.
local video. Yeah.
So these, obviously you guys are aware you're coming back to Vera. Vera once had very large parent race civilizations, and much of the landscape incorporates kind of ruined buildings and these sets that you're going to come across in the world to kind of communicate that age and that distant past feeling. But part of that is determining the parent race's original architecture and what their cities did look like, because there are going to be cutscenes in the game that kind of take you back in time to visualize the fall and the apocalypse and stuff
That'll be
along
cool.
those lines as
That'll be really
incorporating a certain story elements. So in that sense, we create kind of the pristine version of the Aelan architecture, and then we destroy it down into these ruined points of interest and or ruined set dresses for the
they can put
environments.
these out in the world, and they don't have to fill them with like bad guys or
And
NPCs. They
then
can just let
next
them
we have
be
a little
there.
teaser of a couple
I mean, maybe
screenshots
have
of some of the new
events
tech that
around
they're
them that
going to
rotate
be
in,
showing
but
off in
you
the
can just have a
future.
castle that's broken.
I don't know if you want to talk
Ooh.
how
Or
much
fort,
you want to
whatever
talk about
this is.
that, but
Just
I know they wanted to tease
that's
these a
it.
little bit.
I actually I went out to lunch with the environment team yesterday, and we were talking about showcasing this in the next stream, and they
Maybe.
pretty confident on
They were
that.
like,
So
don't give a
if
timeline. And then
they're
Steven's
confident,
Seasons.
hey, if they're confident, I'm confident. So I will say that I have seen the preliminary tech here, and it is freaking cool. These are just teaser images, but
I
wait
hope
until
this.
you see the video about this tech and how seasons are introduced within the world. It is something that I think is going to be a very staple and unique aspect of the Ashes of Creation
It totally will. It so much
MMORPG.
will.
Its world is going to be seeing the drastic
Oh,
differences that are
stupid cable
introduced
down there
visually
just
for
fell.
each biome and each
Oh,
environment
Child
when
attacked me.
these
I was going
cycles of
to.
seasons are introduced, and you're going to see that tech,
Seasons is going to be
which has taken
huge,
a lot of
especially if it
effort from our
affects
technical art teams
everything.
and from the environment
Weather,
teams
obviously
in
the weather, you got snow
accomplishing,
in summer, spring,
but it
fall,
is something
but
that
storms,
feels just so good. And of
crops,
course, it has deeper
different animals appearing, NPCs,
implications,
monsters.
right? As it applies to
You're
certain
not going to find a
systems like
fire bear,
crop rotations and
in a
being able
forest in the
to
middle of
kind of
winter. It's
grow
going to be like a
things, but
snow
also
bear.
how does that affect the economy? Like if a particular region moves into a season and that week you can't grow a particular type of good, but another region halfway across the world can grow that good, and you talk about moving those goods across regions so that they're relevant to either craft workbenches or you can sell them in the local economies, that is a major indicator of movement of goods. And movement of goods carries risks, and risks can create political foes and friends. So, all that stuff is something as simple as just a climate can have cascading consequences across the entirety of the game.
Oh my God,
and yeah, I think it's pretty
I
cool.
bugged my phone out.
All
There we
right,
go.
moving on to our character goodness.
Oh, that's a big thing.
I'm looking at.
That's gonna mess somebody up.
Oops, that was supposed to be last. You saw nothing.
Oh,
the first
teasing
one here
me.
is our Sleep Seers Rement, as you've seen before, and I'll play the 3D element of
That
this.
looks cool.
This is the 3D model of it. Our artists are so amazing.
It's
You see
kinda like
concept art, and
Incan
pretty much everything
Mayan
looks
look,
just
sort
like the
of, but
concept.
I don't know.
Pretty sick. Awesome headdress. You can kind of see
Yeah,
how
it
the
looks
light
staff
great.
reflects
looks a
on
little
everything.
funky.
Who did this one? Was Danny?
Looks
Eli?
like it's got a head on it.
Didn't
Or
I forgot to put the
a
names
snitch
on
from
these.
Harry
So
Potter.
I don't want to give credit to someone with the wrong names.
That's true.
And then the next one here is our Steed of the Frayed Corpse. Work in progress.
Oh, that's the horse I saw earlier. Oh, it's not. I thought it was skulls on it, not flowers.
You guys might get your bingo card.
Oh, the horse looks so
Maybe.
good.
That's cool. Oh, it's a
And
pointy
the next
llama.
one is
Look at that
the
tail.
lovely amethyst
It's gonna
bow
cut
bite.
somebody. You play limbo under it. I know that's just for the model,
it's like
but
a
still,
little
it's pretty funny.
alpaca.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was basically like alpaca
like a
plus
llama
a
alpaca?
turtle together.
Turtle?
That's how I designed it when I was designing
It's
that
it's an alpama
So it's got armor?
or a
Oh,
talpama.
one's probably male, one's probably female.
Topom.
Turtle, alpaca, llama.
Ooh,
And then next we have our rock hawk,
hawk,
which is looking so
a
sick.
bird.
Rock hawk.
Rock
I like
hawk.
that.
And don't say it too fast.
Oh, these kids.
Margaret,
I'm sorry.
unbelievable.
Buzz.
Come on, we all know where that was going.
Unbelievable.
We'll keep PG. Next up, we have our work in progress, a scarab, but we haven't really had. I know there's been people asking for bugs, so here you go.
Oh, little beetle dude.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
How big is that?
I would assume it's probably a big beetle that you're gonna fight.
Looks like you can ride it. It's got a saddle on
I'm
it.
sure they can make little ones too.
Yeah.
That's a big scarab
Then
beetle.
we've got the thing you totally didn't see earlier, which is the work in progress of the scorpion boss. And we do have an image for scale right there.
That's a boss right there. It better be a boss.
Oh yeah. This
Sick.
guy is scatty.
So
is the
sick.
tail.
I think either Jinsey or
Tail
Keith
looks
is
like
working
it's
on this one.
attached.
I don't want to say who it is if I have it wrong.
Like it should be together.
But yeah,
he just looks like he's a
It's a
misunderstood.
big tail.
totally.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna
6
attack you
legs?
and eat your face.
No,
Two
he seems
arms.
like a cuddle
Yeah,
bug.
cuddle
You know what
bug.
I mean? No pun intended.
So cuddly with all those spikes.
That's
Imagine
gonna
those
be a fun
spikes.
boss
No, they're not
battle
meant
right
to
there.
poke you. They're meant to embrace you.
All right. Whatever you're into, Steven.
Whatever kink you got, Steven.
And of course,
Bug
that
boy.
wraps up this segment for our character art. We'll move on to our Q&A and try to answer
no,
as
it's
many
goblins are
questions
back.
as we can here. I know we do have a hard cutoff at some point because Steven has another meeting He is
20 minutes.
barely booked man.
Q&A.
The first one we have here is about role playing. And the question is, will the custom text chat command /e/emote/me or some variant of it be in the game for roleplay? And they don't mean like emotes like dancing and stuff like that. That they mean like, can they type in the text that they want to type in?
Yeah, I think that wasn't that present in Alpha 1? I think it was in Alpha 1. Like you could type the / emote you wanted and it would play like a wave, or you could clap, or you could do some like victory stuff.
Yeah, they don't want it to be animated. They're just saying like, can I just type whatever I want, like / me
and then what does that do in the what do they want that to do in the game?
It does nothing other than put text there, I think. Is
just a different colored text.
Oh, then yes, you
so
may
they can
chat.
Yeah.
You can chat in the chat box for sure.
Yeah, like you can say
I think
slash
you
chuckles,
just make
but it's
it part
not
of the
like, tied to an
now.
anime.
He's like, I'm a PvPer. He's like,
Karthos wants to know naval combat. Can I equip my ship with a ram and plow into other ships and maybe raid bosses to inflict damage while not completely wrecking my own ship?
There might be particular ship components and or classes that excel at that type of activity.
That's it. Awesome. That's it. I'm going to plow.
The next one is from Goalid, and they would like to know about vassal nodes. Village nodes and higher level nodes give out certificates for freeholds to be placed in their ZOI, zone of influence, for those who don't know. If I place my freehold in a vassal node, can I get citizenship in the parent node?
That is a very good question, actually. Right now,
you guys are doing a lot of vassal node design.
Right now, actually, we are intending on the freehold system to work in both scenarios. But that may change. But you would have an option depending on where you procured the certificate from. As long as it is either in the parent or the vassal area, it could be a part of either. You give that declaration when you lay down the freehold. Like I said, that may change because we are actively defining a different approach on some of the vassal systems.
I think you should be whatever zone of influence you're in.
Next up, we've got Nia asking about emotes. Will there be interactions with pets and mounts, such as petting, hugging, or playing with them?
Oh yeah, I would love to. I mean, it's a. I think actually a long time ago, animation did do some of that. As a matter of fact, in Alpha 1, you might have seen some of the anims on the rider of a horse that they went down and kind of patted the side of the neck, or they would pet kind of those. But those would be separate actions that you could potentially do as just additional emotes, but interfaces with a mount or pet that you have active.
All right. And then we've got questing lore from Dismas, and they want to know, will we be processing through an overarching story and chapters of a narrative, or will it largely be exploration and contained in small regional quest lines dotted throughout the world?
Both.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to hear.
There will be a healthy dose of both of those. That the approach of the narrative team is that there is, of course, a meta story. That meta story gets informed by regional stories and regional outcomes, and depending on how players progress within their personal stories, that could be either racially based or could be their class based. They could be per node basis. Like all of those things support a grand structure of the meta narrative, but that's how you effectuate kind of outcomes.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool beans.
And then we've got Schmucky asking about leveling. Will each node have a couple or have a complete and unique path for a player to get to max level? So this is like, could I just go to one node and level up to max level?
Could you do that? The way that the nodes influence spawners around its area, if the node were high enough level, it would have relevant experience grants that you could likely just live your life at a particular node. However, that probably would not be the most effective means of leveling. Is it possible? Perhaps, yes. But it would be probably at a reduced pace.
long as I know it's possible.
And then Roni Siponi, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, wants to know about monster coins. If an economic building is disabled in a monster coin event, will it have economic consequences in regions other than the node in which it was destroyed?
Potentially, yes, depending on what the service building was that got disabled. So, for example, if the service building that got disabled was a blacksmith's building that housed a workbench, which was the only workbench in the region capable of crafting a T5 or a tier 5 or high tier quality equipment, then of course that would have ramifications economically, as those pieces of equipment that are already readily available would raise in prices, and because there would be a issue within the supply chain of those items being introduced into the economy, you would potentially have some supply and demand changes economically, and that could span regions, that could be global, even. So.
Oh, yes.
And then we have a question
It's
from
gonna mess with people.
Schwan36 wanting to know about naval content. Since you need to be at a port or harbor to summon a ship, and that's only big ships, small ships you could do not at those. If a ship is destroyed whilst out at sea, will the player need to slowly swim back to shore or get a ride, or are they just stranded out there?
Swim.
What's the...
Yeah, I mean, there's a real fast ride that they could take, and typically that would involve them kind of just swimming under the water and letting life take its, take them away. But no.
Stephen.
Fast travel.
Oh my God.
By the way, do not advise doing that in real life or anything. I'm just saying, like, in the game world, there's a fast way and there's a slow way, but those are really kind of your options at that point.
Okay, because some games have, things that will let you go back to shore or recall back or something of that sort.
Yes. No, we don't have a recall. We don't have that type of, there is consequence for you losing the means of your mobility. And if you lost the means of that mobility, then those consequences are it's going to take you longer to get to where you need to go, or you're going to have to suffer some experience debt.
All right. And then Dabs16 wants to know about sieges. If a person is a citizen of a node when a siege scroll is dropped on the node, can they move their citizenship before the siege occurs? Very interesting question.
For the most part, yes, they could do that.
Do they get a deserter tag or something?
Right.
So there are certain policies that the node could have active at the time that might exacerbate the penalties for departing the city as a citizen prior to a siege taking effect, but during the declaration period. So that is an answer that has a variable component to it.
Okay. And then Richie SH wants to know about the Underrealm. Can we expect the Underrealm and Tulnar starting area to be more built up civilization-wise, since those inhabitants have existed on Vera since the apocalypse?
Well, it's important to note actually that the Tulnar's locations within the Underrealm that they took refuge in during the
shit show
after the Exodus, that portion was protected. Well, actually, I don't want to get into that too much.
Yeah, you don't. I know that.
I almost slipped there. I'm glad I did not actually. But how can I answer that question? I'm not going to give an answer to that question.
You don't have to necessarily give an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, sorry, Richie, you'll have to experience in game to find out. The next question is about mounts, and this is from Lashing, and they would like to know, will gliding tier 2 mounts have to sacrifice speed, other stats, or an ability slot to keep tier 1 mounts relevant?
No, tier 1 mounts are relevant. And this is something that's going to be explained in our stable systems and how mounts are accounted for later on. We haven't gotten into an article about the stable systems yet or discussed really how they work. Mm-hmm. But generally, you're going to have active mounts. And those active mounts, I'll tease this a little bit. The active mounts are determined based on you having that active mount as part of a slot within the stable that you're within the area of. And what that means is that mounts are relevant in battle. And if you lose your mount in battle, it is a detriment. There are ways for
Okay.
you to bring that mount back. There are active potions that you can have available to you to do fast resurrections, to reduce that cooldown potentially. And you can also interface with the stable itself if you want to swap that mount out with a different mount. But tier 1 mounts will have certain types of abilities that are unique to the tier 1s, and the tier 2s will have certain abilities that are unique to the tier 2s. In some cases, those will be horizontal. In other cases, they'll be vertical power gain. So it
Hmm.
just depends on the situation. It's a situational element.
Perfect. And then we have our
Okay.
last question is going
That
to be
stable
about
ones would be
end
really
game from
interesting.
Gizmo. Gizmo as in like MOW, like mowing the lawn. And they want to know, how do you plan to balance professions to keep them equally useful and relevant at endgame?
Well, that's
It's
not a
hard.
small
Balance is
question.
a hard
I was
question.
gonna
It's
say
very
that's not
ambiguous.
it's a big question.
Hmm.
Balance is, of course, something that is done through testing, through iteration, and also watching player behavior. So, when it comes to balancing a system, that's something that we do during testing phases. When it comes to architecting the system itself and identifying the areas in which certain professions excel, where they interact with ancillary systems, their interconnectivity across the artisanship system as a whole, the important part there is to identify how the interconnectivity lives with the other professions in the artisanship system, and what type of reliance you have on particular professions to complete the path of crafting or
Yeah, but you're never going to
introduction
have
of new
one
items into the
profession.
economy. And
You're
I
always
think that
probably going to get falling behind.
one of the things you need
If
to
your
strive to
whole
do
server wears
is
heavy armor,
not to
no one wants
create
leather.
arbitrary and one-off bespoke professions that aren't part of that integration, that whole holistic kind of view of the profession system. Corey and Mike are doing a great job in kind of identifying the importance of each profession across the artisanship as a whole, the artisanship systems as a whole. And right now we have 20, I believe we have 22 professions. And we're talking about masteries, like ultimate masteries, living within only 2 of those to start for any one individual character. So there's that doesn't mean that you can't achieve like
Oh,
tier 3 and tier 4
getting late.
intermediate proficiency within those systems and have some interaction across the whole. But when it comes to complete mastery, we're really kind of identifying around 2 or 3 right now. But that's something that gets play tested, something that gets iterated upon, something that we get feedback on. That's an important aspect for
That's
sure.
going to be interesting to watch
Yeah.
as well.
Well, we appreciate you answering all of those questions, Stephen. I know it's a lot. But of course, we hope that you all enjoyed our April development update. As we said, there will be an ebb and flow of those big ones where we showcase a lot of cool in-game stuff versus the others where we kind of give you little pieces trickling here and there. But we hope that you enjoyed hearing about the event system. We will have an article going out next week or sometime coming up that you can check out, as well as there already is a feedback thread up. If you have any, thoughts on the event system thus far, feel free to
I
drop them
should
over
pitch my
there.
event
And
idea
then,
I
of
have.
course, we also have our
I want to
hairstyle
make a
feedback thread
video
up.
on it.
We would love to hear
I
your
haven't
thoughts
had
on those
motivation.
things,
Because I have to
especially
like
for the
animate
hairstyles. If you
stuff.
can provide some
I
imagery,
have to
that
like
assists
put it
our artists
together.
quite greatly. And we're really excited. We hope that you have enjoyed seeing our update. And just quick reminders that the Road to Desolation Cosmetic swap over will be on May 11th.
Hello.
So if you'd like that, check it out. Thank you all for watching.
Make a
Thank you,
note on
Stephen,
that.
for your time. We hope that you all stay safe and healthy. And of
All right,
course,
2
if
weeks.
you
Okay.
didn't get to watch this or you kind of came in later, it will be immediately available over on Twitch if Twitch's VODs want to work with us. Otherwise, we will be putting this up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ashes of creation. And if you subscribe to us over there and leave us a comment on the video, your comment could be selected randomly to be spotlighted on our next live stream, which we will, if it's a question, we'll answer. If not, we'll maybe discuss it a little bit. Maybe it's about tacos. I don't know what it's going to be about, but we hope to see it. And of course, follow us on all the places. We, We of course do this big update on live streams once a month, but we do a ton of updates on
Daily
our social
updates.
media throughout the month. So if you want to see daily content, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, go check us out. Pop on over to our Discord.
This is a
Daknar and
big
Roshan
ending. She
are
makes me
always
look like a
interacting with
chump.
people daily over there, as well as over on our forums. We would love to have you join us and be part of our Ashes family. And we will see you all next month for another development update.
Bye,
Cool.
everybody. Have an awesome weekend.
Alrighty, well that was a pretty good one, guys. I enjoyed it. It's here, I'll pause it right there. Sure. That was a pretty good one. I like their slight little preview of the event system and how it interacts and how there's different levels of events and all that fun stuff of just, you know, natural disasters, monster attacks. You know, maybe plants and crops seem to be an event possible. That looks cool. Then the holidays they talked about, they teased seasons there for a bit. It all looked really cool. Like the opening was super boring, obviously, but as they got in the nitty gritty and the details of things that they can talk about and are working on, um, events. I think I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in this game. A lot of what do you want to call it, or what do I want to call it? There's a lot of details or topics or um, sections of this game that are like gonna be massive. Like crafting system is gonna be huge. The ins and out they've mentioned, I believe, it's 22 crafting professions they have right now, of different grades, either gatherers, processors, or actually crafters. They have what else did they have? They talked about stables, naval combat, the seasons, the events. But I really think when it comes down to it, this game is gonna, if it's gonna be a good game and they do a good job, it's gonna be their random generated events. And I shouldn't say necessarily random because, like he just like Steven described, you know, oh, if I go and kill 25 enemies, well, it'll piss off that say goblin tribe, and then the goblins are going to attack the node. So it's not totally randomized, but there's little triggers that pop it off, but we might not know what the triggers are necessarily, and we might accidentally stumble in them, or some people will figure it out and they'll force events to happen. Um, and the events are going to constantly be happening in the background, especially if they're like there's a volcano, an earthquake, or maybe a tsunami or a big storm comes through, for weather-related events. But then there's like the goblin attacks, or maybe a dragon is going to attack a level 6 node, whatever. I think the event system is really going to make this game fun and repeatable. Because if I'm at node 78 out of 120 nodes or whatever it is, I'm at 78. Last week we had the goblins attack, but we wiped them out before they even touched the walls. City's great. But this last week we've been really pissing off the or like something that's been affecting the volcano, and it's smoke's coming out and the volcano erupts. Maybe we have to. My ideal event that I wanted to create was like some way to stop the lava from flowing and then divert the lava, maybe to the ocean or something. Kind of like in the movie Volcano. And I, I maybe we might, or the note that we just doesn't care about the event, and then the lava hits the walls, destroys the walls, and then oh no, three of our buildings catch fire and they're gone. Or natural, maybe a lightning hits, forest fire, works its way to the node, destroys some of the buildings or damages them or whatever. It's going to be refreshing. It's going to be something to constantly work for. And if we put effort in at the beginning, we can knock out the event early. So that way it doesn't affect us, it doesn't hurt us. But if we don't care, or we're lame, or we're just bad at the game, it's really going to beat our node up. And it's also going to give you a reason to keep coming back to the game, to keep your node running, to keep your business working, or your guild in a good status. A bunch of games out there like SWOTOR. I always reference SWOTOR. It's the MMO I've been playing mostly. They're kind of like, I don't know. There's like being in a guild is like nothing. Yeah, you got people with you, but there's no real point. I get into end game raids just with random pugs that are pretty successful right now compared to just running in a guild and like really making an established guild and spending hours upon hours about recruiting, because there's no point. Half the people leave right away. You know, Swotor's got is in a funky spot right now where people are fading out, coming back, fading out, coming back. But this event system in Ashes is really going to be a pinnacle, and I'm really looking forward to it. Same as their PvP Castle Siege system, that's going to be one of their other main pinnacles that's going to make this game. And then, you know, and all of those combined, it's the node system. The node system has its little, you know, the node, let's say the node system is a table. It's the top of the table holding the game up, and then the legs are, you know, you got your crafting system is all revolved around the nodes. Your event system is around the nodes, and you got your PvP all around the nodes. Nodes are a three-leg table kind of deal. But anyways, I think that's enough rambling for tonight. It's getting late. I'd go on for hours, I'm sure. So if you guys want to find me, look over here, squeetee.com, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I'm Squeetee everywhere. Twitter, I don't know, I got like Gab and Parlor, and I made a bunch of stuff, socials a while ago. Don't really post too much to them, but they're there. Check it out. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Facebook or whatever it is. Subscribe on Facebook? I don't know. I don't pay attention to what Facebook's button says. But anyways, guys, I really appreciate it if you followed. You know, check my stuff out. I'm gonna, when Alpha 2 comes out, I'm gonna pump out content like crazy. I can't wait. But anyways, that's all I got, guys. I'll let you all go. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. Works. I haven't streamed in ever. Oh, it worked. All right, cool. Goodbye, guys.